Hi everybody, this is Susie from Money A+E. Today I'm really pleased to welcome to our series of how-to chats Amanda Dubarry. Amanda is the CEO of Caritas Anchor House, which is a homelessness charity that, as well as providing a place to stay for single homeless adults, also supports people to gain life skills and the abilities needed to sustain independent living. And Caritas Anchor House is also based just down the road from Money A+E in Canning Town in Newham, East London. Amanda, welcome and thank you very much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to be talking
Thank
to you.
you. Thanks for having me.
So to get started, I'm really interested in what Anchor House do, preparing people for living independently and avoiding what's been referred to as a revolving door of people needing support. Can you tell me a little bit more about that approach and why it's important?
Yeah, so our focus at Anchor House is around building hope and enabling lasting change so that ultimately we can permanently end homelessness for every individual that we work with. And we believe that you can't do that with a night in a shelter or one hot meal. And of course, those things are really important, but we see our focus as being on providing safe places for slightly longer term so that people have the opportunity to recover and deal with the trauma that they've encountered, whether that's on the streets or before they became homeless. So we provide support for people in a personalised way to specifically deal with the issues that they need to deal with. So that might be recovering their health or their mental well-being. It might be reconnecting with friends and family. It might be learning new skills so that they can become financially independent and learn how to look after themselves well and manage a tenancy and so on when they move on. So our focus is around really building resilience so that people are confident and capable and have a good network when they move on, so that when they do move on and we help them, we provide a very handheld approach around move on. So we properties for people, we take them to view those properties, we help them to furnish the properties and help them with deposits and things, and we support them once they've moved on by providing around 6 months of resettlement support. And we've got a really good sustainment rate of tenancies once people have moved on. And that's what we're really, really proud of, because, as you say, we don't want to be supporting that revolving door where we give someone a bed in our service for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and then immediately they're lurching back into crisis. So we're trying to provide a longer term route out of homelessness. And one of our slogans is around providing a home and hope. And I think, it's about that permanent ending of someone's homelessness and giving people the skills and the opportunities to move on to an independent and successful and fulfilled life.
It's really amazing work that you do. Yeah, it's incredible. And why is housing and homelessness such a big issue in Newham, particularly in East London at the moment?
Yeah, I think everywhere in London and the southeast is struggling with housing crisis, where land and property prices far exceed most people's household budgets. And I think in Newham, it would be fair to say there'd been a number of years of underinvestment in housing and also in preventative services around homelessness and services that provide support for people who are homeless. So that's added to that crisis. Newham's also a very young borough. It's got a very young population. So, of course, there's lots of younger people who need to move on into independence that can't afford to do that with the housing market as it is. And we've seen rough sleeping significantly increase in Newham since about 2015. The rate of rough sleeping's risen significantly, which is obviously extremely worrying. And Newham, as you probably know, has got the highest level of homelessness in the country. And it's now got the second highest level of rough sleeping in London, which for an outer London borough is quite unprecedented. So there's been a very difficult set of circumstances in Newham. And I've been really pleased to see that the council over the last couple of years have really turned their attention to this and made a commitment. And they've been successful in getting Central London central government, funding into Newham, and they've been working with charities like ours to try and really reduce the rate of rough sleeping. And we've seen a pretty significant drop in the number of rough sleepers over the last year, which is wonderful. And hopefully, working with the council and lots of other partners, will be able to do the same in homelessness in the borough over the fullness of time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really good to hear. I know it's been a big focus for the council for the current mayor, Roxana Fires, and
Yeah.
It's a big priority, isn't it? It's homelessness and housing, and finding solutions to that, and reducing the wait time for council housing. That kind of leads me on to my next question, which is, what can we do as average, normal people, average citizens, or as community leaders to tackle the housing crisis, which can seem so big, but what actions can we take to make a difference?
Yeah, you're right, Susie. I mean, it is huge. It's a system issue, and it needs systemic change. But I think what we can all do is we can engage in the problem. We can be curious and find out about what's happening in the area. And that might be just as simple as following charities like Caritas Anchor House on social media, following the council and seeing what they're up to. It could be engaging a bit in consultations that are happening and coming to meetings. It could be volunteering with local charities. So it just depends how much time and availability that people have got to get involved in things. But I think if we all engage and try and get informed on the issue, because there's always so many different perspectives, and the perspective that somebody has if they're experiencing homelessness is perhaps different to the perspective of the council, which may be different to the perspective of a charity that's trying to work with people. So I think it's just really important to try and educate ourselves, and to get informed, and to get engaged, and to give others working in this area some moral support. With just even a few likes on social media, it can go a long way.
Mm-hmm. And you made me think, you were talking about the different perspectives of everybody involved in this kind of finding solutions, and the perspectives of your service users. And I just wanted to share with our viewers, there's a really excellent series that you guys produced around ending the stigma around homelessness, and kind of people who've used your service telling their stories. And I believe it's called Anchor House Stories. Have I got that right? I'm very
Talks, I think.
at the moment. Talks. Sorry, it's
Yeah.
the lockdown has affected my memory.
I might be wrong too, Susie.
Anchor House Talks. It's a really excellent thing to watch. And can we find that on your website or on your social media?
If you go into our website, you'll see the images of a few of our residents along the side, and you can click on those and hear their stories. And as you say, it's about trying to change people's preconceived ideas, because the people that are talking, they don't necessarily have the stereotypical story that you might expect of someone who's perhaps had a troubled childhood and been through prison and ended up rough sleeping on the streets. These are stories of people that everyone can connect to, really, and something's gone wrong in their life. And with deprivation and poverty levels as we see in Newham, people just don't have that plan B. They don't have that backup. So when things go wrong, they can go spectacularly wrong, and the rug can be pulled out from under people's feet. And that's what we see a lot of in Anchor House.
Mm-hmm. And at the moment at Money A+E, it's the number one kind of debt that people are coming to us with is housing debt.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's affecting people from all kinds of walks of life and backgrounds, and particularly this last year. And how was 2020 at Caritas Anchor House? How did it work?
Interesting, as you can imagine, for everybody. People have had such a tough year now, haven't they? So for Caritas Anchor House, it started before lockdown. We shut the doors to visitors. So our service has 140 people living in it, and it's normally a very thriving place, but we've shut the doors in an attempt to keep it, as we now say, COVID secure. And that's continued all the way through to now and will continue for a while. So that's significantly changed the atmosphere in the project. We also took away the furniture in communal areas to stop people gathering in groups to protect them, which obviously, you know, again, it's changed the atmosphere. We had to restrict the number of people using our kitchen, so that's affected how many people are able to get in at a time to warm their meals up and to cook meals. So that led us to the decision to take on a role specifically to work with the community and coordinate meal and food donations. So we've been so lucky with so much support from the community over the last year. And that continues now. So we've had nearly a year of the community providing meals for our residents, so that you know, they can be well looked after during all the restrictions. We, like most people, you know, we've doubled up our cleaning regime. And we also had a number of our frontline staff who have underlying medical conditions, and we weren't eligible to furlough, but we wanted to protect those workers. So they were medically suspended, and obviously we've had to cover their roles. So what with PPE and hand sanitizer and doubled up cleaning and staff who we're covering, and all the other things that we've been doing, roles that we've created, like the food coordinator role, the cost to us has increased very sizably during COVID. And of course, at the same time, we've needed to reach out more, because although we've stayed open all through all of this time, we've been very conscious that a lot of our residents live in just a single room with bathroom facilities, and you know, we didn't want, with the closure of some of our communal areas, for them to feel like they were in some kind of pseudo prison. So you know, we've had to do more in terms of reaching out for wellbeing checks and also COVID health assessment checks and things like that. So it's been a very busy and an exceptional time for us, but we've stayed open, and we've had no ill health. We've only had one COVID positive resident, and their symptoms were very mild and they recovered very quickly. So you know, we're really pleased with how we've got through it so far. Obviously we're not there yet. 2021 is definitely proving to be as challenging as 2020, but you know, the measures that we've taken seem to have worked well, and our community has been kept pretty safe, and we've still been able to progress and move people onto independence, which is really important, because that's really what we're all about. As I said earlier, you know, that ability to move people on from the condition of homelessness into a permanent independent lifestyle. You know, that's what we're there for. So we've been really pleased we've been able to continue with everything we're doing, but yeah, it's just taken a lot more effort and focus and care because of COVID restrictions.
It sounds like an absolutely incredible effort that you know, that you and all of your team have been doing. And if people want to support with the meal service, or in another way with donations perhaps, how can they do that? How can they get involved?
Yeah, they can just get in touch. We would love to hear from people, and there is a get involved section of our website, with lots of different ways that people can get involved, whether it's attending events when eventually we're able to put those on in the future, whether it's volunteering, donating. There's loads of different ways that people can help us, and we've been so pleased with the community response that we've had over the last year. It's, you know, really kept us going.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Amanda. That was really, it's really great to hear about the work that Caritas Anchor House are doing, really making a huge difference in our community, and to all of us in East London. So thank you very much for joining me today.